Welcome everybody to some new player action now between Bryan Lamb at the top of the screen and Matt Powell at the bottom. You will notice that Bryan, I'm just going to move this a little bit, Bryan is sitting on 0 points. That is because he's one of our brand new players. He's just, graciously decided to help us out by jumping in and taking one of the spots of a player that dropped. So he does have some catch-up matches to play, and hopefully for him those points are going to get bigger quite quickly. You can see Beaumat Courier swinging into a 2-3. That's a very telegraphed play right there. Shock. So it looks like Matt Powell at the bottom is on mono red. This is sort of mono red aggro deck, and green black Constrictor at the top. Apologies, I'm going to also eat my morning tea because I had a busy day. Here's Goblin Chainwheelers. This is one of the new ones. If we just look at it for a second, when it enters the battlefield, it does 1 damage to opponent's creatures and planeswalkers. A very popular card now. But it's a turn 4 Khan here for Bryan. Which card does Matt want to give him? I think you give him the Ballista. It's a tough one because you can see he doesn't have removal in hand. This is really tough. Ballista is going to be a 2-2, so it can't actually shoot. It can shoot down your Uncrop Crasher. Yeah, so he's actually going to give him the Constrictor, because if he plays a Constrictor the next turn, the risk here though is that if he plays out the Constrictor plus another 2-drop, it's going to get an extra point, and he's going to quickly finish off Khan. So there's a Constrictor he was given. So he's going to get a 2-2 Ballista out of it. I'm not sure what he's shooting. Oh, nice play there from Bryan. But well, he's flashed the Hazoret now. He's going to definitely be able to play the Hazoret next turn. No Exert, so he's offering a trade with the Winding Constrictor. You can see Bryan's only got 1 card in hand. He's going to take that trade, but he's going to have to deal with the Hazoret now. And no play on his side. Green-black, I don't believe, can deal with Hazoret at all. Oh, just as I say that, I'm sorry, I didn't eat breakfast this morning, so my mind is a bit off. Vraska's Contempt, the most common removal spell in the format, takes care of. And suddenly it's Bryan now with all the momentum, 5 power on the board. You can see 2 lands in hand from Matt Powell. And now Traxos, Scourge of... This doesn't untap unless he plays a Historic. And this is very quickly looking ugly for Matt Powell. He's actually lethal on board next turn if he plays a Historic spell and can untap that Traxos. That's an aggressive Vraska's Contempt. The Traxos has Trample, so does he? If he had the Historic, he could have put him away there. So he does have lethal on board next turn, but 2 blockers. He kills the Scrap Heap Scrounger, but it just comes straight back. So Matt has to top deck something right now, or we're going to game 2. Or another chump blocker, not ideal. You can see Bryan is just flooding here. Again, he goes that double block. And again, he activates the ability to exile another card out of the graveyard and bring it back. So again, we're in this position. Goblin Chain Whirler is not going to get it done here. It can effectively block the Winding Constrictor though. I'm not sure how it did 1 damage to... I mean, I don't know how it did 2 damage to the Constrictor just there. Any removal spell here can do it. A removal spell or an historic spell. He gets neither. You can see the Winding Constrictor's an 0-1. So it's going to die because of the Soulscar Mage. What happened there? I missed something. Unless the Chain Whirler has first strike. Oh, so I think Matt Powell has drawn every Soulscar Mage in his deck here. Down comes another Constrictor. It's just both players just top deck. But it's this Scrap Heap Scrounger that's just doing the damage because it can just keep coming back and back and back. And look, more lands. Land Flood is bad on Matt's side as well. So 2, 4, 6, 8, 9 lands for him. 2, 4, 6, 8 for Bryan. And that's going to get it done. So we're going to go to game 2. A super risky keep here because he's got the curve 1, 2, 3 drop. Needs to hit that land. If he doesn't hit the second land, he's got big problems. Doesn't hit the land. I don't know why this match was recorded by Matt Powell. I don't know why that forest has got a swamp symbol on it. I'm just confirm. Yeah, you can look. I'm looking in the chat in the log for the match, and you can confirm it's a forest, not a swamp. There's the second one. So he lightning strikes the blocker just to keep the momentum going here for the Bomat Couriers. Okay, Voltaic Servant. This is at the beginning of your end step. You untap an artifact. So he's obviously got Traxos in mind here. But now there's no viable attacks. I mean, Uncrop can exert on the... I'm actually surprised he swung those couriers there. They can both just die. And I'm also surprised when he's tapped out that Bryan didn't block the second courier with the Winding Constrictor. This is going to be brutal here. He can actually wipe the board. Wipe Matt's board if he wants to. But he's not going to because you can see the Uncrop Crasher is exerted, and plus when he puts a counter on the Walking Ballista next turn, he's actually going to make it a 4-4. So, oh, he's one short. If he plays the land this turn, he can't play the land. But this is looking pretty good for Bryan. And this is kind of what the red decks usually do is go a bit wider, but in this case, Ballista's going to shoot down that Kenra. So he's plussed on the he's put the Kenra ability on both the Constrictors so they can't block. But he's just going to lose that. He's going to lose the Kenra to one of the Voltaic Servants. I'm not sure why he wasted the Ballista there. He could have just blocked it with the Servant. Unless he wants to double block the Uncrop Crasher. He's going to chump block. And go to 6, go to 3. So he's actually dead on board here because the Uncrop Crasher is going to come down next turn. Now he's going to be forced to chump. Well, I probably would have plussed on the Voltaic Servant and forced him to give up the one-in Constrictors there, because he was always going to double block. And he needs something here because the... and he finds it. Timely. A 3-3 Ballista. He can just chump block here with the Ballista and sack it in response on the Courier, which is exactly what he's going to do. You can see Bryan's got 3 cards in hand now. Matt is out of cards. But that Scrap Heap Scrounger can't block, so that's going to be lethal from Hazoret, and we're going to game 3. Just confirming that it's a forest again. Well, Bryan Lamb has hit that Constrictor every game. And Matt Powell doesn't waste any time, he just gets it off the board. And he's got another one. I think he can play the Uncrop Crasher because he's not. I don't think he's going to be in the business of trading. Doesn't need to exert here. No, so he swings without exerting. Yep, and takes 3. And Winding Constrictor into Walking Ballista. We've seen that just about every game, I think. He's going to go the aggressive route with the Uncrop Crasher. One other option was to play Earthshaker Kenner and hold it back as a blocker. He could have traded it with the Constrictor in conjunction with that Magma Spray. Assuming that Bryan doesn't have a follow-up. Here he's got 2 cards left in hand. Phyrexian Scriptures. Put a +1 counter on a creature, and then next turn he gets to destroy all creatures that don't have those counters. So Uncrop Crasher is going to die. Or he's not going to... What's he doing? He just minus Chandra on... He says oops in chat. He just minus Chandra on the winding constrictor, but it's not going to die. So Chandra's going to die now. The third step of those Phyrexian scriptures is to exile all cards from graveyards. That could be a massive misplay that could hand Bryan the match here. Bryan has graciously offered him a rollback, but in terms of our league, he's not required to do that because rollbacks are generally for if there's a glitch. So what we mean is if something happened in the game that wouldn't happen in paper, then you'd reasonably expect a rollback. You know, so you accidentally pushed F9 or something like that. But the idea here is that you may have actually done that in paper, minus Chandra, and then go oops, but it's too late. What's this? Vraska's Contempt. Well, you can see Kari Zev's expertise. This made a splash in for a period of time in Modern. It appeared in a kind of a Goryo's Vengeance deck. Gain control of another creature until the end of the turn, and play a card. So you could actually play Goryo's Vengeance through to Kari Zev, and you'd also get their blocker. But then it kind of disappeared off the face of the earth. Yeah, he's kind of done that the wrong way around. If he wanted to use it this turn, he could have, just for the, I mean, it's his only card in hand, but just for the sake of mana efficiency, he could have played that Earthshaker 3 through to Kari Zev. I think he's looking for a big payoff here, like the Kraxos. Well, that's a suicide mission right there. And Bryan Lamb very quickly jumps on that. Yeah, he's got a... what he's trying to do here is eternalize or embalm or whatever the hell it's called. I forget the exact term. And he can do it as a 4/4, but it has to be next turn. This turn here is where he wants to do it. Okay, this time he can minus Chandra if he wants to. And as a Vraska's Contempt, well, that's probably not such a bad thing because that Vraska's Contempt would have gobbled up Chandra on the other side. He's sacking the Inventor Sphere here now. He's going to look for a Traxos. Nice play there from Bryan. So Traxos is going to be able to untap from the Voltaic Servant. Down comes Chandra. And here is Traxos. So I mean, the life total is too high at this stage. You can see the double attack there. I think he could have just swung the Voltaic Servant because there's no 1 mana spell in Standard that can do 3 damage. He's going to steal the Traxos, but it's not going to be enough. Bryan Lamb is going to win next turn because he's going to get his Traxos back, and we're going to go to Modern. Oh, that's right. I forget artifacts are actually historic, so they can untap the Traxos as well, and that's the lethal damage. So we're off to Modern now. And it looks like Matt Powell's on Bogles. He's going to keep this, I suspect, because it's got the ley line. You can see he doesn't have a... He doesn't have one of the... He needs one of the creatures, but he doesn't have it at this stage. And Soul's Attendant, so straight up we can see this is the deck that Bryan's on. It's called Soul Sisters because of these two girls, Soul Warden and Soul Attendant. Basically, when a creature enters the battlefield, you gain 1 life. So the gist of this deck is to just play out these two sisters and then dump a whole ton of cheapy spells on down. So things like I forget the name, the Triplicate Spirits, I think it is, that's 3/1/1 flyers. Oh, that's a draw. Ghost Quarter, he can take down that Dryad Arbor that's been loaded up if he wants to. And that's exactly what he's going to do. I think I would have... okay, the Dryad Armor, because it had Umbra. No, what's it called? Umbra? Totem Armor. You can see he's going to load it up with Totem Armor again, the Spider Umbra. But the Leyline of Sanctity, it looks like Matt Powell's playing 4 of the main deck. That's probably in response to Settle the Wreckage. It's becoming more popular in modern now, and particularly in control decks. The Settle the Wreckage, target player sacrifices attacking creatures. So obviously if Leyline, you can't get target player. And I think Blessed Alliance as well. So it kind of cuts off a number of their outs. This is going to take the Umbra. This is the card I was trying to remember. Spectral Procession. Yeah, it gives you 3/1/1 flyers and a heap of life. So you can see Bryan Lamb up to 22 life. And the problem here for Matt Powell, he didn't have his payoff card. He didn't have his payoff card, which like one of the cards to load up all the enchantments with, so he doesn't have it now. And on top of that, he doesn't even have enchantments to put on them anymore. All his enchantments are gone. So this looks like it's going to be game 1 here to Bryan Lamb. And here's another procession. Yeah, I think this one's done. We're going to game 2. This was all from a risky keep from Matt. So we're going to go to game 2 now. You can see he's got Slippery Boggle. He'll keep this hand because he only needs 1 land. Play the Boggle and start loading it up. The only thing he doesn't have is he didn't have the Leyline turn 1, which is not a big deal. And now he's going to go to work. Load this thing up. I think is a interesting deck choice here from Bryan. We have seen it before in the league, but it's not a hell of a lot. This is probably only the 2nd or 3rd time I've actually covered it. You can see that Matt's got Rancor in hand. So he's going to take it in Ethereal Armor. I was going to say, if he can stop... there's 2 Rancors now. If he could stop Matt from getting Trample, I think he could almost gum up the board enough to quickly win this. But with Rancor now, of course, the Boggle has Trample, so he needs that 1 more land to get Daybreak Coronet. So here come the Chumpers. They're not Chumpers now because of Rancor, but Daybreak Coronet is going to get him lifelink, so that once he hits that 2nd land, which is right there, this one's over, we're going to a game 3. You see a 7/5 Trample lifelink, this one's over. Unless he's got a Blessed Alliance. So he's got another coronet now. A 10-8 trample, that's lethal. Now the selfless spirit can't save the other ones here, because, and he goes to 1. I think looks like he's actually looking for something, but I don't know what. He plays out Elspeth Knight's Errant, which is going to make 1/1 blockers, but oh no, actually it's going to give him +3, but it doesn't matter. I can see there's a damping sphere. I don't know why he's bought damping sphere in. Protection from black and from red for the Oriok champion. There's a damping sphere again. I cannot for the life of me think what he wants that for. If anything, it hurts him because he's the one more likely to play multiple spells on a turn. And none of Bryan's lands tap for more than 1. Well, here's Ajani's Pridemate. This is one card that's capable of actually growing bigger than the Boggle. A triplicate Spirits would be really good next turn, but this Daybreak Coronet, this is the card he has to stop. You can see an 8/8 Trampler. It's going to be lethal next turn by the time he puts the Rancor on. He needs a triplicate Spirits right now. I keep calling it triplicate Spirits, sorry, Spectral Procession. Okay, that works. Take away the Daybreak Coronet. Bogles is down to a 4/4. He can't block that. Seven. Okay, so this is lethal right here, 9. This has to be chump blocked. But it looks like the Bogles has got it now. As he goes to 3. I think he's going to see a concession, and we could be going to... That was just a turn too late. If you drew that the turn before, we're in business. So if he's got 6, he's got Trample, so we're going to Legacy now. And it looks like a spicy brew here from Matt Powell, Mono Black Reanimator. So he's gonna he does have a turn 1 Massacre Worm there. So yeah, and here's Massacre Worm. This is a pretty good card in Standard at the time. And he's going to reanimate. So what he did there was Dark Ritual, Thoughtseize himself, put the worm in the graveyard, and then reanimate the Massacre Worm. So 6/5, but he's down to a swamp. So if there's any removal spells on the other side, he's in big trouble. And there's not. Oh, Soul's Attendant. So as Bryan looks like he might be playing... So he's going to go Iona into the graveyard, so it's not mono... Well, it could be mono black, because you don't actually need the colours to cast the creature. But that Massacre Worm, if it was down the turn before this, then it would have just been very bad news for Bryan. But, oh, and here's Grave Titan. Bryan here is playing my guess is he's not a Legacy player, so he's fired up his so he's going to discard his hand thanks to him to Turek. No, he's not, because Thalia means he's got to play 3. Any creatures here in Ajani's Pridemate becomes very difficult. So he's going to Wasteland, and he Wastelanded... Oh, he can't Wasteland because they're 2 basic swamps. It's a misplay. I was going to say he Wastelanded right there because... yeah. He wastelanded right there because Matt flashed that Hinder Turak, so he wanted to get it beforehand. And here's a very fast Iona. Oh, he's going to go to Massacre Worm. This is going to wipe the board. This is brutal. And he's going to lose 2 life for each of those creatures. And it's lethal on board next turn. And we're going to go to game 2. He's seen enough. Yeah, I was saying before, I suspect Bryan doesn't play Legacy, so he's playing his modern deck in Legacy. And kudos to him for that. At least he's having a go. So because he's doing that, we're going to be cheering for Bryan in this one. He's got an Auroarch champion. The problem he has here, though, is that he's seen Massacre Worm turn 1, and I can't think of a worse card in Magic against his deck. You can see a Massacre Worm again going to do the business. I mean, personally, I would have got greedy and waited until he played more creatures out. Because you can see now he's down to 2 cards, but he's kind of recovered. Fatal Push is going to take the Mother of Ruins while it's still summoning sick. I think this is almost the identical same deck as what he played in Standard, except... So he's going to Hinder Turak himself so he can get those 2 cards into the grave. Now Mother of Ruins can actually just... Oh, he can't. No, next turn. He's safe next turn. So 4 points. This is kind of a prison deck in a way. But I think this is going to be Iona, and this could be big trouble. It is. So no more white spells from Bryan. So I don't know how Bryan can beat this now. What am I missing? Oh, okay, no. The reason he didn't attack there is because Selfless Spirit has flying, so Mother of Ruins can actually take it down. But he could have swung both and traded one. As Bryan played the sword, sort of, I think it was Light and Shadow. So he's going to equip the sword this turn. So he's going to start gaining life from this as well. Now Hinder Turak's going to get him to discard the cards, but you can see here Matt Powell's kind of locked out of this. That sword is doing some serious work. Unfortunately, I forgot to put up the overhead of it, but it gives him... It's the perfect sword in this matchup because it gives him protection from white and black, so Thalia is getting free hits every turn. But I think here Matt needed to start swinging both of those creatures, and he's going to concede, so we're going to go to game 3. You can see no payoff cards in hand, so I think he'll mulligan this one. He's got all the pieces except for the actual creature. It's attempting to keep. He's hoping to play off the top of his deck here. He's got plenty of ways to put something in the grave. Okay, so he's got sort of Feast and Famine there. I'm a bit surprised how quick... Oh, okay, so he's gonna... And 2 planes. Okay, so quickly strips Bryan's hand. Bryan now only with a lands in hand. Rest in peace. Oh, does he... Mono Black. Can Mono Black answer this? I don't think it can. It means he has to hard cast something to win. He can hard cast the he can hard cast a Massacre Worm, but I think he's just dead. He plays the Jite. I think this one's over. Okay, so he's got a Dark Ritual, so that's going to help him hard cast. But I think I think Bryan Lamb with his modified modern deck is going to take out his first legacy. Oh, there's the Massacre Worm. What Matt does not have is mana to pay for it. He needs another 3 lands. Okay, there's a Grave Titan, so he's got a few options here. Yeah, you can safely get rid of that Reanimate or that Entomb because... But Brian's got a 3-turn clock, so I think this one's done. We might actually see a concession very soon. It's actually a 2-turn clock now. No, that's it. This one's done.